Okay, we are live, 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 live. Um, anyway, my name is Rhonda Cox, and I am the owner of Amazing by Grace LLC and Rhonda's Retreat Face and Body Bar. And I have with me today a wonderful lady that is very, very talented and a very delightful lady. And she knits, she sews, and she crochets, and she's very, very good at what she does. And so I asked her to join us today, and here she is. And so anybody hops on here, please say hi to her and give her a warm welcome. So anyway, Alise, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
You're very welcome. Yeah, it's a pleasure to me too. Um, so my first question is, how did you get started? I mean, was it a family passed down thing, or did you just kind of take it upon yourself, something you had a passion for?
Actually, my mother taught me how to knit and crochet when I was 13, and my grandmother taught her. So it was basically boom, boom.
Yeah.
And I learned how to sew back in the dark ages in grade school when the girls took home ec. So we all learned how to sew. And because I lived in Arizona, it's always hot in the summer. I used to make all of my own summer clothes. So,
Oh, that's neat.
shorts and t-shirts and short sleeve pantsuits and shifts and things like that.
Mhm.
Because, cotton fabric was readily available. And, in the summer in Phoenix, it's hot. You want to wear cotton because it's
Right.
one of the coolest fabrics. And throughout time, I just kept going. I had a weight problem most of my life. And I found that if I was doing some kind of craft where I needed to use my hands, they weren't going into the refrigerator looking for something to eat. So it
That's
was
a good
kind of
point.
it was a kind of a two-pronged thing. First of all, was to keep my hands out of the fridge. And second of all, to have something really pretty that I made when it was done.
Mm-hmm.
So not only did I knit, crochet, and sew, I also did latch hook rugs. I did macrame. I did embroidery. I did crewel. I did counted cross stitch. So I did all sorts of things that were basically, hand crafts
Uh-huh.
throughout my life. So that's kind of how it got started. It's, basically I attribute it to my mom, who, kind of got the ball rolling for me. And I just picked it up and never put it down.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's something that I suppose when you're doing it, I mean, it's kind of a memory of your mom, and it's kind of neat. Just carry on that tradition of
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And one of the things that really got me to do this was back in the 60s, there was a yarn store near our house in Phoenix, and my mom wanted to make an Afghan.
Mhm.
So she took me and my sister over to the yarn store, and she got all the yarn that she needed, and she made this beautiful Afghan that actually looks like a DNA because it kind of goes in and out and in
Oh,
and out
how
and in and out.
cool.
So it was strips. And
Uh-huh.
then she put the strips together to make the Afghan. And I begged and pleaded with her, oh, please let me do a few rows. Let me do a few rows. And she did. Well, I have that Afghan 60 something years later. It's hanging on
Really?
there in my office. And it's in just as good a condition now as it was when she made it over 60 years ago.
That's
So
awesome.
that's one of the beauty parts of handmade
Hmm.
is that things are made to last if they're made correctly. And
Yeah.
for me, I mean, I've been doing this 58 years. So, I put a lot of heart and love into all of my products, but I also put a lot of experience and expertise.
Hmm.
And some of my customers who have bought scarves from me over 20 years ago are still wearing them and they look brand new. I'm wearing scarves I made myself 25 years ago that look brand new. So
Wow.
there's something to be said about paying a little bit more for handmade, but getting a lot of use out of it over
Yeah.
the years.
Yeah, the handmade stuff tends to it just like you said, it lasts longer.
Yes,
And typically
absolutely.
it is made better.
Yes.
You
If the
know,
person knows what they're doing. And, and I
exactly.
know during COVID, a lot of people picked up knitting and crocheting. And then some of the manufacturers came out with these kits and it said beginner. Well, they're not so much beginner because most of the people who got them called me and said, will you help me?
Uh-huh.
Because they couldn't figure it out. But it's like anything that you do in life, you have to keep at it in order to get good at it.
You do.
So
Practice makes perfect.
exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. So, if you want to get the right tension, you want your project to be square, or you want it to be a rectangle, like, like a scarf, you know, how you work up your yarn and the tension, has to be
Okay.
the same, or else it's not going to be the shape that you want it to be. And that's just practice.
Oh, that's interesting. So you have to keep the same tension in order for it to be, I suppose, to lay flat
Yep.
and everything to look
Yes.
right.
So,
That's
I mean,
interesting.
and that's the thing is that, and even sometimes with some yarns, I have some problems,
Hmm.
and I take it out and then I just try to say patience,
Right.
one stitch at a time, and this is going to be terrific. But
Uh-huh.
it's like anything in life, you have to keep at it, and the more you do it, the better at it you'll get.
Hmm. And that's true. I found that with my soap making. I got away from it for a while and I'm not doing it like I really want to, but it was like learning all over again.
Yep, yep.
You know how to do it, but
Right.
there's
And
those
it's like
little things.
Yeah, it's like a bicycle. You get off it for a while, but you get back on and you're a little wobbly for a little while until you get your balance.
Yeah.
And then you're off and running, or off and
Yeah.
biking, and all of your muscle memory comes back.
Exactly. Yeah, I know for me, it's like, oh, I was forgetting this and I was forgetting that. I'm like, oh, I knew that, but I just forgot.
Yep.
So my batches weren't turning out as well as they had been because I was making soap every day, at one time. So I get that. So with all that being said, there was a couple things that you have not been able to find because we're basically, my whole podcast thing is about American made,
Hmm.
buy American, use American because we are American. And there was a couple things that you had mentioned that you can't find in America. You have to order it somewhere out of America. And so
Right.
would you like to highlight that? And maybe somebody will hear this sometime along the road or along the line and see if they
Yep.
can't start making it.
Okay. Well, there's three things that I have not been able to find, and I live in Los Angeles. So, there's the Fabric District downtown. The whole thing is downtown. And I still could not find what I was looking for. So
Mhm.
one of the things I cannot find are the safety eyes that I use in my ducks. So
Oh,
this
look
is
at those
lucky duck.
little dots.
The black eyes. Okay,
Uh-huh.
I cannot find these that are made in America.
Now
I
you
can't
said
find them.
safe. Okay.
They're
You
called
said,
they're safety eyes because there's a shank in the back
okay.
that holds the eyes in place so they won't come out. Okay, really
Oh,
important, especially for something for a baby. You want to make sure that it stays intact.
okay. So
Okay.
is the yarn through that then?
No, it's got like it looks like a little nail with
Okay.
with a tip, and then you put it in between, and then you snap the back on.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so it stays on. So
Okay.
I cannot find these made in America anywhere. I also can't find ribbon, bulk ribbon, meaning a big spool of ribbon. And so I've been getting a lot of it on Amazon because they have the big spools, which is, because I use a bunch of ribbon for each duck.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, buying a little spool isn't going to do me much good. It's more cost effective to buy a big one.
To get the great big
I
roller.
can't find anything like that that's made in America. And the biggest thing, which kind of surprised me about the Fabric District downtown, I couldn't find cutesy buttons for my kids' hats, for the
Really?
beanies. And so I found a place in China,
Mm-hmm.
and their prices were so reasonable, and they paid for shipping. And
Wow.
so I have a whole bin of different buttons.
Hmm.
But believe me, if I could have found them here, of course, I would have bought them here.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a lot of things that, that aren't made here anymore that I wish would come back.
Right. So it's safety eyes, ribbon, and buttons.
And buttons.
Okay. So anybody that happens to watch this video, if you happen to know a place that she can get something like this in America, please reach out to her. I will put her contact information, email, whatever she would like to have on here, so that you can reach out to her if you do know, or if there's anybody that's listening to this that you would like to hop on that bandwagon and learn how to make that stuff and produce it here in America. Alise, is very interested in purchasing that in America, and you know she would be really, I'm sure, thrilled to be able to find it here. So,
Absolutely.
Alise, what kind of information would you want me to put on
Um,
the screen here?
you can send my email address. They can also go to knitmesewme.com and fill out the contact form
Knit
at the
me.
bottom of the homepage, and I will contact whoever emails me.
Okay, so it's knitmesewme.com.
Sewme.com. Yeah.
Okay, so it's KNITMESEW.com.
ME. You forgot the last ME.
Knit
So
me. Oh,
it's
I did. Knit me sew
knitmesewme.com.
me. Knitmesewme.com.
Yep.
Okay.
Catchy and cute. Short, catchy, and cute.
That's cute. Okay. For let's see.
If they have any suggestions for me, I'm really open to finding other sources other than where I've been basically forced to find them.
Okay. Let's see. So I just got go to knitmesewme.com for contacting Alise about, let's see, ribbon,
Eyes and buttons.
eyes and buttons made in America.
Yeah, that would be terrific.
Okay. All right. So I got that up there. And I'm going to put it on the screen for a little bit, down there at the bottom of the screen.
Okay.
Okay, so it went on. It's saying that there was an error. I don't know.
No, it's there. I see it.
Yeah, I can see it too. I don't know why it's saying that, but anyway, so yeah, you are looking to network as well, right? Network with anybody, any small business?
Absolutely. But you know what? I think we should kind of back up a little bit and talk to the audience about how the business got started. Because
Yes,
I think that's really important for anybody who's maybe thinking about, jumping in the water, so to speak.
Okay. No, that's fine. Go ahead.
So, so you all know that I've been, knitting, crocheting, and sewing all my life. And in 2000, my mother came to visit. And by that time, I had been going to a designer yarn store, and I've been buying designer yarn and making myself all these designer sweaters and sweater sets. I made my husband a bunch of stuff. And I sat down with my mom and I said, I have more sweaters and sweater sets that I can wear. What do you think I ought to do? And she says, I think you should start a business. And I looked at her and I go, that could be interesting.
Oh, come on, right?
Well, so the business was started under another name, and it was all baby things. So I had baby blankets, booties, stuffed animals, bean bags, bottle holders, things like that. And then I didn't know how sustainable just doing that segment would be. And then I transitioned and I started a division called the Scarf Gal. And that's where I made the one-of-a-kind scarves, the head wraps, the gloves, the headbands, the hats. the whole thing. So
Uh-huh.
that became the accessories line. And I make hats for everybody from newborn through adult. And I make the cutest kids hats and beanies you've ever seen. But you can always check that out on the website.
Sure.
And then and then I started a line of home goods. So I started making cup cozies and mug cozies and Swiffer covers and cast iron skillet handle covers and scrubbies and all sorts of things for the kitchen that are made from 100% sustainable cotton. Okay. And that's what you and I were also working on for the soap savers, is that
Yes. Uh-huh.
they're going to be made from 100% cotton. And the beauty part of that is that they're washable and they're long lasting, they're durable, and they help the planet, which
Mm-hmm.
is just a great thing. So one of my friends' husband did my first website. Wasn't great. I mean, but at least I had a website.
Exactly.
In
Yeah.
2017, he called me to tell me he got a full-time job and he was taking the server down. And I just said, well,
Oh
what does that mean to me, for me? And he said, well, you have to have a new website done. I go, crap.
no.
Right.
It's like
So
starting
I said,
over, right?
okay. So I met a gal and she was going to do my website, and we were trying to figure out how to combine the kid's name of the business with the scarf gal name of the business. And after about 45 minutes, I just threw out, oh, why don't we just call it Knit Me, Sew Me, Crochet Me? And she says,
That
nope,
covers everything.
why
Yeah.
don't we just call it Knit Me, Sew Me? Because you get Crochet Me, it's longer. I said, fine, it's catchy, it's cute, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So we did the logo, got the website up and running, and it wasn't an e-commerce site. It was kind of a website where people could look at things and then they would call me and I would text pictures back and forth and I'd take their credit card over the phone, and it all worked out fine until last summer when a guy that I met who was helping me with the YouTube channel called me and told me that he put the website in front of a focus group. And I said, okay. And he said, don't get mad at me. I said, I'm not going to get mad at you. He said, nobody understood what Knit Me, what Knit Me Sew Me was all about until they got about halfway down the homepage and they saw the photo of you and what you did.
Okay.
And I said, oh, really? He said, yes. And he said, as much as you love your logo, it was a really cute logo. He said, I think you need to do a rebrand. And I said, okay. So we'll talk about networking in a little bit, but I basically contacted my top 25 connections on Alignable. And I said, tell me what you think about the logo. And I attached the logo to the message. I said, you're not going to hurt my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
24 out of 25 hated it.
Really?
Hated it, which shocked the heck out of me.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, it's time to do a new logo. So through somebody on Alignable, I met Jen, and she worked with me, and we came up with the logo that you now see on the website and everywhere else.
Yeah.
When you look at it, you know exactly what I do. It's like, cool.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then the website was okay, but it wasn't great. And I basically, and this is one of the things I made a big mistake, I kept throwing money at the homepage against the wall to see what would stick, and nothing was working. And then I met another guy on Alignable, and I told him what was going on. He said, let me create a brand new website for you.
Wow.
And that was fine until he told me how much it was going to cost. And I thought I was going to have a heart attack, but I said, you know what? Just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it. And so my website was on Wix, and he did the new one on Wix Studio. And it's now an e-commerce site. So instead of going from the old website to Square to order stuff, you can now just order everything on the website. There's a banner at the top with all the categories and things like that where you can order. And but it's a learning curve for me because Wix was so much easier. But now I'm getting really good at Wix Studio, and I'm able to do pretty much everything myself. And if not, I contact him. And if it takes him more than 10, 15 minutes, he'll send me a bill for like $25, which is fine. Okay, so that's how the new website ended up coming about. Okay.
Okay.
So the business was part-time. It started in 2000. I was working full-time. My husband and I got married in 94. We bought a house, finances, expenses. And in November of 2020, during COVID, I was almost 67. So for those of you who have trouble adding, I'm 71 now, although I'm 41 again, because 70 is the new 40.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. And I got laid off. And
you definitely don't look 71, you said, right?
Thank you.
No, not at all.
Yep. So Joel and I sat down. He said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, honey, I have been working for other people for over 50 years. I'm done. Checked out. I don't want to bother with it. I don't want to answer to anybody. I want to do Knit Me Sew Me full time. And so we kind of looked at the finances. So the hobby that always wanted to be a business became a business that used to be a hobby. Ding, ding,
That's
ding.
fun.
Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. On my way. Well, I didn't realize when you cross that line from being a side hustle to a bona fide business that there are things that go along with that. For instance, so the checking account is under a DBA. The business is under a DBA, which is a doing business as.
Right.
And I don't mix the Knit Me Sew Me money with our personal money. It has to, everything has to stay separate. I had to get a business license from the city of Los Angeles. Okay, cool. I got a seller's permit from the state of California, which allows me to buy all of my materials tax-free. However, when I sell anything in California, I have to charge sales tax. That's a requirement by law. And then in January, I file the city tax return and the state tax return, and I return all the sales tax that I've collected to the state. I also have a social media gal, or any kind of independent contractor that I use. If I pay them over $600 in a year, you have to file a 1099 with the IRS for that. Right. So there's things that go along with it that you don't really think about when it's just a side hustle and you're earning a little bit of pin money or something like that, as opposed to being a business. And all the spreadsheets that I do for our CPA, I mean, everything, it's run like a business. And that's one of the hurdles that I always face is people say, "Oh, she knits and crochets. She must be sitting on the couch all day. She's a grandma and that's all she's doing." Well, it's a lot more than that.
Yes, there is.
And
you have to wear a lot of hats.
You do. And being a solopreneur, when it's all on you, it's the hardest. I could say, honestly, it's the hardest thing I've ever done for the least amount of money I've ever made. However, this is my joy and my passion. And I wake up every day loving what I do. And I don't know how many people can actually say that.
Right.
I do my happy dance every day of all the things that I get to do because I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah. Yeah. When you have your own business doing what you love, you don't ever feel like you're working.
Exactly.
But in reality, you're working way more than you did when you went off to a 9-to-5.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, I mean, I found a social media gal through somebody on Alignable, and we've been together for several years, and we work in tandem, and she's taught me a lot about Canva. So when I take Ducky, that's Daniel, when I take him on trips with me, I do the shell of the video with photos and stuff and write the text. And then I send it to her and she does the music and makes it pretty.
That's neat.
So, and she and I work together on making sure that, we have a big selection of posts. So one thing I will say about social media, I don't get any business on social media. Okay. I'm on social media just to have the presence.
Okay.
So I have my own Facebook page, but Knit Me Sew Me has a Facebook page. I'm on Instagram. Ducky has his own Instagram page at Lucky Ducky, KMSM for Lucky Ducky Knit Me Sew Me. He has his own Instagram page. I'm on LinkedIn.
Lucky Ducky. I'm putting that on here. Lucky Ducky what?
KMSM for Knit Me Sew Me.
KMSM. Lucky Ducky KMSM.
And so he has his own page. I also, Knit Me Sew Me has a YouTube channel. So for those of you who want to see some really fun videos, please watch all the Ducky videos. They're hysterical. And please subscribe. It helps our analytics tremendously. And for those of you who are thinking about starting a business or have a business, you have to have a Google business profile. You have to have a Google business page. And it's imperative. It's absolutely imperative if you want to be found on Google. And one thing, one tidbit of advice that someone gave me is on all your social media platforms, everything has to be uniform. So the name of your business, your description of your business, your website, your email address, your telephone number, everything has to be the same because Google doesn't like it if it's not. And they might not think that you're a legitimate business if you've got one phone number somewhere and one phone number somewhere else. So you've got 3 or 4 different email addresses. Everything has to be uniform.
Right.
Including your logo. So everything has to be uniform.
Yeah, so, you helped me with that.
Yeah, it's really, really important. And also, when you do have your Google business page, make sure that you're posting on it often. Because Google likes to see that. And ask for reviews. And when I met a guy on Alignable, probably last year, I had 31 or 32 5-star reviews. And he said, you have to get more reviews. So ding, 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 the light bulb went on. And I guess we'll talk about Alignable next. But anytime somebody on Alignable wrote me a recommendation, I sent them a message asking, may I please ask a favor? Would you copy your recommendation and post it to Knit Me Sew Me's Google business profile? Here is the link. So I get the link off my Google business profile. I put the link in the message. So all they have to do is copy their recommendation, go to the link, paste it in there, hopefully give me 5 stars and post.
Right.
And now I have 119.
Right. I saw you had like 200 and some on Alignable.
Yes.
Isn't it? Okay.
Yeah.
Don't mean to interrupt you, but what was it was Lucky Ducky KMSM and then what?
That's it. It's at Lucky Ducky KMSM.
At the symbol?
Yeah, that goes in front on Instagram.
Okay. I'm not very familiar with Instagram.
I don't understand it either. I let Kim take care of all of the Instagram stuff. Facebook, I understand. LinkedIn, I understand. YouTube, I understand. But for some reason, I've got this block when it comes to Instagram. I don't get it.
Never mess with it much,
Yeah.
Instagram and Facebook are connected now. So
So when she posts on Knit Me Sew Me's Facebook page, it automatically gets posted to Instagram. And then I post on my own personal Facebook page in some groups that I'm in. So, and I post on LinkedIn and Alignable. So you want to talk about networking? Because that's really important for both of us.
Yeah. I just don't want to lose track of my time. I've been looking for that. I think we still got plenty of time. But go ahead. It'll show up whenever, oh, here it is. I know. I see. We got plenty of time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so networking.
For those of you who want to grow your business or you've just started a business, the place to be is Alignable. And Alignable is a networking platform. It is not a social media platform. So basically, this is where you make connections and create relationships. And through growing your network, you will get business. And so my brother-in-law told me about Alignable while I was still working full-time. I didn't do anything with it until after a couple months after I got laid off. I got an invitation to, they used to be called Smart Connects. Quick Connects. Now they're called Smart Connects, from the Women Business Owners Group. And it was called the Women's Power Hour. And it was Monday morning at 10:30.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, 10:30 my time. And I thought, okay, I'll go. No harm, no foul. I have nothing to lose.
Right.
Well, within 5 minutes of getting on that quick connect, I found my tribe. I found my people.
Wow.
The women there are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And my first one-to-one was with a gal named Christine. She helped me with my profile and getting it all set up and ready to go, and all the areas filled out that I didn't have filled out. And honestly, I have met so many incredible people on Alignable. And I've had lots of orders. I've had people order multiple times. And now that the website is e-commerce, it makes it so easy for people to order. I'm doing so many custom orders for people on Alignable as well,
Mm-hmm.
including the ducks. I mean, I made the ducks in so many different colors. It's, by the way, Lucky Ducky on the website, top left corner, you can see all the ducks. It's hysterical.
Now you said you do custom orders, right?
I do.
Yeah.
If I can
So,
make it happen, like I had 2 people last week, both of them wanted me to make them dresses.
uh-huh.
And honestly, I don't have time for that. And if you want a handmade dress, you're looking like at 4 figures. You know, this isn't a $100 job. This is
Right.
over $1,000 job, because if you're asking somebody to make you a dress,
That'd be
there's
a
a
lot.
lot of hours and labor that go into that.
Yeah, I could see
So
that.
those I declined, but I referred them to the designer yarn store where I used to shop.
Uh-huh.
And because they have people there who are professional, and maybe one of them would like to take on that sort of project.
Mm-hmm.
So Alignable is amazing. There is a free version, and I encourage people to join and do the free version, but make sure that your profile is complete and you watch some of the videos on Alignable University to help get you started. But for me, it's been over 4 years. It's been a phenomenal journey. Now I'm to the point where I'm mentoring other people. So people who help me and help get me started, now I'm paying it forward to others,
Yeah,
because
that's
I
what.
want them to be successful as well. So I helped you. You're one of the many, many people that I've helped. And for me, it's just give, give, give.
Mm-hmm.
Give with an open heart, and it all comes back at you, tenfold.
It
When you
does.
and
Yeah.
you got to be genuine and open and honest and transparent. And once people see you showing up and you've done some smart connects and you've made some connections, your network will grow and you can do some amazing work there.
Right. And like Elise said, she's the one that like opened my eyes to Alignable. I was a member of Alignable. I'd probably joined maybe 2 years ago. I'm not really sure how long it's been, but I didn't understand it. I just thought it, like she said a while ago, I just thought it was another networking, or not networking, but social media platform. And it's like, I've got enough social media stuff going on. I just really didn't want to add any more to it. And sometime back, at least I'm not really sure how long it's been now, but she contacted me through Alignable asking about kind of helping each other's business. And at first I'm like, is this for real? That's what I was thinking. So anyway, I did respond to her, found out she's very genuine, very nice lady, and she really does a very good job of what she's doing. She's helped me, open my eyes to the fact that all of your sites need to be uniform. And so I've upgraded or updated my Alignable site. And I do now. At least I have another lady that's said she wants to do a podcast with me. She is a Christian life coach.
Perfect.
So we're in the process of, talking about that. So I want to thank you, Alise, for doing that, because,
My
I
pleasure.
had no idea,
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. And part of all of that for me is ties into Knit Me Sew Me's commitment to personal customer service. So I was raised old school retail. I got a 2-day job in college at a ladies' wear store after Christmas, and I ended up working there 3.5 years.
Oh, wow.
So for me, everybody who shops with Knit Me Sew Me is part of the Knit Me Sew Me family. Everybody gets treated with respect, with honesty, with welcoming arms. And for me, you come into my booth at an in-person boutique. You can try on anything that you want. I will help you any way that I can. Same thing if you're shopping online, you have a question, you can call me, you can email me, you can text me, the whole shebang. And I will be there to answer all of your questions, because I don't know about you, but personal customer service has fallen by the wayside for quite a number of years. I can tell you numerous times I've walked into a store and there's nobody there to help, and I turn around and walk back out. Well, that will never, ever, ever happen at Nimisomi, because I'm honored that you're coming to me to shop or to ask questions or advice or whatever. And I'm certainly not going to not be there.
Right.
Because it's insane. It's insane because people need that personal connection. And with technology and everything, personal connections have gone by the wayside. Zooming, I think, is still a personal connection, because, we did a lot of Zooming during COVID because we couldn't meet in person. But, not being there to help is not a good thing, for a good look for anybody's business. You have to show your customers that you're genuinely invested in them and you care about them. And that's what happens here. We, my sister, I have a twin sister. She comes and helps me in the fall with a lot of my boutiques, because we've been getting so busy that I can't handle it myself anymore. And she's a ball buster just like I am. She welcomes everybody. Everybody gets a hug, a laugh, a smile. And that's the way I've run the business. And honestly, I have had customers since the business started in 2000. So 25 years. So I must be doing something right.
Right. I mean, a lot of times people don't really buy the product. They buy the person.
Exactly.
I mean, they love you. They connect with you. They're going to want to order or purchase from you before they purchase from someone else that maybe makes the same thing.
Yeah,
like you said, it's that personal connection that, when you walk into a store or whatever, you hear somebody say, hello, welcome to blah, blah, blah. That instantly connects them to you. They feel welcome. And it's the same with social media. I mean, you got to give people a warm welcome, even though it might just be through, typing something on the screen. It's connecting with people.
Exactly.
Making them feel welcome. So
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's just one of those things where, I think people are starving for it. People are and that's one of the beautiful things about Alignable is, people, they care about each other. Everybody wants to see everybody succeed. There's 9.5 million businesses on Alignable. And so if you started a business or you're thinking about starting a business, why wouldn't you go on this platform to see what you can see?
Yeah. Did you say 9.5 million?
9.5 million.
Million. Yes. Wow.
Yes. And so you can make connections all over. Right now, Alignable is just in the United States and Canada. But and I don't know if they're looking to expand. I don't know. I'm obviously not in the inner workings there. Right. But I mean, why would you not tap this source of, kind of captive audience people who are already there, who you could network with and establish relationships with, and then do business with down the road. I mean, I didn't get business right away. People had to like, know, and trust me first. And when they saw me showing up and continually showing up and continually helping others, then they know, yeah, that's somebody I want to do business with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you and I are collaborating on a project, which should be a lot of fun.
Right. I'm so excited about that.
Me too.
You want to share what it is?
Sure. So when I found out that Rhonda does handmade soaps, I have a bunch of patterns for soap savers. And soap savers are cotton things that you put your soap in, and you can use it as a washcloth, like it's kind of like a washcloth. And the one we talked about to start with was like an open, like rectangle. But then I went through my folder and I found a bunch of them that have drawstrings. So as you use your soap and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, you can take the pieces and put them in the bag with the drawstring and keep saving them up. That's why it's called a soap saver. Yeah. Until you get a nice amount of soap, and then you can start using that. And this way you use up all your soap. The soap savers are cotton, so they're washable and eco-friendly and sustainable. And you can use up all your soap, which makes it a value money-wise because you're not throwing anything out.
Right.
So it's like a win-win-win all over the place.
It is. Yeah, you absolutely can use every last little teeny tiny piece of that soap. And so you get all of your money's worth,
Exactly. And right now, everything's expensive. I mean, I live in Southern California. It's outrageous here. So, we never get a break.
Really? Everything's expensive, you mean, or soap?
Everything's expensive. We're still paying close to $5 a gallon for gas.
Woo! Yikes.
It was down during COVID. I think it got down to like $2.59 a gallon for the middle unleaded, but it's been over $4.50 for forever. Everything's expensive. Earthquake insurance is expensive.
Oh, I bet it is.
Yeah, houses are expensive. You can't buy a house here under $1 million.
Yep, I had family members that used to live in California years ago, and they left because of the earthquakes.
Yeah,
they had the last earthquake destroyed their home, and they said, "We're out of here."
Was that the one in '94? Was that the Northridge quake in '94?
No. Well,
that was the last big one.
It probably was then.
Yeah, that was the last big one. Joel and I were living in Sherman Oaks when that thing woke us up at 4:31 in the morning, and and so it actually KO'd the hotel where all of our wedding guests were going to stay in November. So we had to find somewhere else. And luckily, when we had started looking for a place to buy, and luckily this was the first time I was glad my husband was a procrastinator, because every condo building we saw was red tagged, which means
really
you can't go in there anymore.
Dangerous.
And then we found our house in May out in the West Valley in West Hills. So
okay,
yeah.
My family was in San Bernardino. That's where they lived.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know if they felt the Northridge quake, but this one was not far from us, and it was a shake, rattle, and roll.
Yeah, they said it busted their driveway, their concrete pillar. I don't know if both of them, but they had concrete pillars on both sides of the drive. One of them busted and fell over, and it shook. I think they said it knocked dishes out of their cupboards.
Oh yeah, I caught mine. I literally ran into the kitchen, and the cabinet had flown open, and I shut the cabinet, and I caught a bottle of Healthy Choice tomato sauce as it was flying out of the cabinet.
Oh, that would have been a mess.
But the tray in our refrigerator door dropped. I will never forget that smell for as long as I live, until I got that rug out of the kitchen with the broken glass and everything. It was a nightmare. That
has to be scary.
It was very scary, but we made it. My mirror fell off the wall in the bedroom, crashed right behind the dresser. So there were shards of mirror everywhere. I mean, it was scary.
Yeah, it'd be scary. That would be scary. It scared them enough to leave. They moved back here to Iowa.
But the bottom line is, someone said to me, well, why don't you leave there? And I said, well, where are you going to go where nothing's going to happen? And there isn't anywhere. There's hurricanes in the southeast. There's the nor'easters in snowstorms in the north. There's tornadoes in the mid part of the country
where we live, but they usually don't do much.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, well, where are you going to go? So
there's something that happens everywhere. There is.
Yeah.
You just got to kind of decide what are you the more comfortable with happening.
Exactly. But life is good. Life is good. I love what I do. I encourage people to, if you're thinking about starting the business, take the plunge, but think about it and have a plan. Just don't go. I mean, I didn't have a plan because I didn't know what I was doing, but it takes a lot to get from A to B, and it's not a straight line. So you have to know that you're going to have some detours along the way.
Right.
And we all get down and we all get depressed. But that's when I call my lineable buddies and say, I'm having one of those days, get me out of it. And they do. But that's the beauty part of making relationships, is that that you've got people you can lean on. But, especially women, women-owned businesses, we got to support each other. It's really important that, we have as many women starting their own businesses as we can. And
Right.
also support local businesses in your area, wherever you live. So
Yeah.
for me, last week I met a gal I met on Alignable. We met at a coffee store up in Northridge that's owned by a guy who went to Cal State Northridge. He bought it 7 years ago after he got out of school. He and his cousin run it. We went in there to get coffee and tea. And I told him about my cup cozies that go around the Starbucks type cups. And I'm putting them together and I'm bringing them tomorrow for him to look at to see if they want to carry them in the store. And, that's not anything I could have done at a Starbucks, but
No.
I met these great guys. I supported their local small business. So, if you need flowers, don't go to FTD. Find a family-owned florist, a family-owned bakery, a family-owned restaurant, and frequent those places that will lift up local economies, provide local jobs, and everybody does better instead of a nameless, faceless corporation that imports everything from China or somewhere else.
And they don't even know you bought anything from them.
Exactly.
Little small businesses like ourselves, when we get a sale, I mean, it makes our day.
Oh, absolutely.
And it helps us pay our bills.
Exactly.
If you got small children, helps you buy clothes for your children. I mean, there's just, it's on and on. Plus, like you said, it keeps the money in our communities.
Exactly. In the local economy. Absolutely. And that's another thing Alignable is really good with is, supporting local businesses. And so it's not for big businesses, it's for small businesses and a place for us to meet, network, establish relationships, and do business.
Right. And I'm excited, I'm really, really excited that you have introduced well, not really introduced because I was there, but, really explained to me what Alignable's for,
Exactly.
And so, I think it's going to help me too. I mean, I met you there and this other lady, her and I've been chatting and she said she definitely wants to do a podcast with me to share what she does. So,
and the more different kinds of people you have on your podcast, the wider audience you're going to reach. So that's really, that's a really good step for you.
Right. Yeah. I'm excited about it. Well, we got about 10 minutes left. Was there anything else, like any final words or anything that you would want to share? I know we talked about clothes made out of natural materials. I don't know if that's anything you're like even thinking about. If not, that's fine. But
I have a lot of people asking me to make things. And a lot of the products that I have been suggested from customers, like the Swiffer covers that you put on your Swiffer instead of a pad. One of my friends asked me, can you make these? And I said, sure. And then my sister wanted a cast iron skillet handle cover because she had a carpal tunnel surgery that went bad. She got a staph infection, almost lost her hand. So her grip strength in her hand is not that great, but she wanted to be able to have something on the cast iron skillet that wouldn't flop around. So I made those in cotton for her, and everybody loves those. So I had somebody ask me, can you make a hat like a frog? Sure. I made those. They're now just posted on the website. It's a new product. So people ask me for things and I do the best I can if I have time and it's cost effective for me. So somebody said, can you knit me a pair of leg warmers? No, I could never make back enough money to make it worth my while to do leg warmers.
Okay.
Because I have to do things where I can do them in a specific amount of time. And I know that whatever I charge, I'm going to make some money.
Right.
So,
absolutely.
If I make leg warmers and I have to charge $100 because it took me hours and hours to make them, nobody's going to want to do that when they can go to Walmart or Macy's or whatever and buy a pair there. So there are some things that are better bought at a big box store, but there's also a lot of things like I make these adjustable head wraps that nobody makes, and they're awesome. And that's the beauty part of what I do as well is I make things that you're not going to find in mass retail. So if you're looking for a baby gift, you're looking for a gift, you're looking for something for yourself, shop Knit Me Sew Me.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're shopping for somebody like for the holidays, they happen to be picky. We all have those picky people.
Right.
We offer gift cards so they can come on the site and order whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
And because I do my own thing, it gives me the opportunity to make things for people custom.
Uh-huh.
And but then I can pick and choose what I feel is appropriate for me to make. Does that make
Something that
sense?
was, yeah, something that you could make money on, but not have to charge so much that no one's going to buy it.
Exactly.
Basically,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So,
Okay.
but that's the beauty part of handmade.
Mm-hmm. It is. Yep. You can pick and choose what you do.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, but I just wanted to ask that because I know we talked about it and, uh, okay. So I just wanted to say across the bottom of the screen, you can see where it says go to knitmesewme.com, blah, blah, blah. She is looking for ribbon eyes for her little characters that she makes and buttons that are made in America. So if anyone knows where she can get something like that, or if someone says, hey, I can make this and start selling it, she would be interested in talking to you.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
contact Alise. Let's see, we don't have.
Also, I do not buy any yarn that's made in China.
Okay.
I do not buy any yarn that's made in China. I don't trust that what's on the label is actually what it is.
What it really is. Yeah. No,
and
I don't.
Who made it?
Yeah.
It could be a child. I don't know.
Yep. No, I agree. I 100% agree with you on that.
Yeah.
You
and
just
there's
have
something to be said about being American and supporting America. And it makes me think back way back when all the sheets and towels were made in the textile mills in North and South Carolina. Everything was made there. Every January there was a white sale, and that's when they would go on sale. But all those things were made here in the US, and now they're not.
Yeah.
So, a lot of industry went bye-bye when companies decided that they wanted to cut costs. And I just read an article not too many months ago about how these big companies, these big retailers are ordering cheaper fabrics to lower the price or keep the cost down, but you're getting something that's crap.
Yeah, it probably won't last very long, and the material itself is probably harmful to us.
Yep. Well, there's a saying, buy cheap, buy twice.
Right, that's true. When you buy something good, it lasts a lot longer.
Absolutely. And you take care of it. It's just like anything else, you buy something, you take care of it, it lasts longer.
Yep, that's very true. So anyway, I think we've covered pretty much everything.
Yes, we've covered a lot today, huh?
This has been very, very informative. I've really enjoyed it, Alise.
Me too. I appreciate you so much for having me and allowing me to, talk to your audience and spread the word about Buy American.
Yep. Hey, that's what we're doing. The doors come wide open for American-made businesses now, and now's the time to jump on.
Absolutely.
If you guys, the audience, has been thinking about starting a business, now's the time to do it. But just keep in mind that it's very important to get your supplies here in America, supporting other American-made businesses.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
With all that being said, I tell people it's like, buy American, use American, because we are American. I mean, we are American. We need to support our own country.
Exactly.
So,
well, thank you for having me, Rhonda. I really appreciate it.
You're very, very welcome, Alise. And maybe we can do this another time if, you have something new you want to share or, whatever.
Sure. Absolutely. It would be an honor.
Okay. Awesome. Well, you have a good evening.
All right. You too. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.